what is the current AI models trained on, right? Largely, it is data that humans have created. It is books, it is the internet and things like anything that you can go to train the AI models, you go ahead and use that data, right? Those kind of experiments succeed where you have digital currency that is used by AI to make the right decisions and train itself to, showing human prosperity as its end objective. I think we are saved. The kingdoms, right, vying for the throne, right? And if you look at the age of AI, the kind of investments that they're putting into, right? It's like there's no tomorrow. Anything that human can do, right? If there is a system that does better than that, that is called AGI. But AGI itself is so scary in terms of what happens after AGI is achieved is something that all of us are wondering, right? What happens after that?
Welcome to the Wavelength podcast series by LTTS, where we talk about technology and more. Some leaders are built in the boardroom, while others are carefully integrated over time through pieces from varied backgrounds. Looking back, these varied pieces appear like pieces in the perfect mosaic that is their journey today. We are talking to one such leader today. With each role, he earned a different exclusive perspective, which he says comes very handy in his current role as the head of the Strategic Initiatives Group in L&T Technology Services. In his own words, he says, "The plurality of this world has so much to offer that I can just not be content with knowing about one single thing." With immense pride, with immense joy, I'm welcoming a leader today who has played mentor to so many, including me, Hrishikesh.
Thank you so much, Avi. You made me emotional here. But thank you so much for this flowering introduction to me. I don't think I could have done a better job than that, but thank you so much. Nice to be
Very
here.
kind of you, Rishi, and I know, and that's what we fondly call you, all of us who have been on the receiving end of your love
Thank you so much.
and your affection. We call you Rishi with love. Mr. Hrishikesh Rao is Rishi for us. Rishi, while we were talking about it, we presented to you a plethora of ideas and topics as to what can this discussion be around. While primarily we'll talk about technology, does not have to limit to that, but primarily we're going to talk about technology. And you, in your own swing and your own way, your own Rishi way, as I call it, said that we should talk about human endeavor and tech.
Yeah.
And then you added a term.
Yeah.
What was that term?
Well, I think it is drawing parallels to something that we all come up with. I mean, if you read Lord of the Rings, for example, what is the play of fire and ice?
Yes,
Right?
the dance of ice and
the
fire.
dance of ice and fire, right? It's a fascinating tagline, if you may.
Yeah, it was a very fascinating reference, and of course, it took me to the very obvious reference of Game of Thrones. I would safely assume, when you talk about technology, of course, AI is the first thing that comes to mind. So I don't think so. I would miss the mark by a lot if I say that the throne in the Westeros can be the leadership in AI. But if you talked about that analogy, and I know you don't say things just for the sake of it, you've thought of that.
Right.
If this is the dance of ice and fire, and leadership in AI is the throne at Westeros, then who are the Lannisters? Who is the rising queen in the east? And what's the claim of Baratheons?
My God. This is a question of a century, I may. But you're so right? If you look at the parallels of what's happening in the world today with the series of Game of Thrones, I mean, it's very uncanny, if you say, right? The kingdoms, right, vying for the throne, right? And if you look at the age of AI, I can safely say there are about 7 or 8. You can talk about the Magnificent Seven, for example, right?
Correct.
Everybody has a tech agent. Every one of them has a tech agent. Almost all of them have something to do with AI. Maybe one of them may not yet be on the AI journey, but you're very sure that it is a fight for the throne, right? If you look at the kind of investments that they're putting into, right? It's like there's no tomorrow, right? Some days it's 300 billion, some days it's being talked about like $1.5 trillion, right? So if I start from there and then look at parallels with this series that I really love, you talk of Lannisters or you talk of the Starks, for example, right? You can even talk of the White Walkers, right?
Oh, yes.
Right? White Walkers.
Very important
when they
part
say
of it.
winter is coming, for example, right? So in my mind, right, while the West, as we know, is vying for this throne, right? The Chinese, on the other hand, are creating a pulse of their own, right? So you can look at them as White Walkers or the dragons, for example. But it is these kingdoms which is vying for the throne, and that is what makes it so much interesting. Do we know who is going to sit on the Iron Throne? I don't know, right? Maybe it is Google, maybe it is XAI, who knows, right? But the stage is set up, and I can look at this as episode 1 that is starting in the series, and we have a long way to go, Abhi.
Yeah, and if I extend that analogy to the next obvious question, while we identify the players and the battlefields, winter is coming.
Yes. Yes.
And when you say winter is coming, what to you in this whole landscape of evolving AI,
Right.
AI, the evolving AI landscape is?
Right.
When you say winter, when we say suppose winter is coming, is it the scaling ROIs or the limitations or the dilemmas of the change management associated with adoption of AI? What comes to your mind in this perspective?
So I'll take one more analogy here before I go deeper into why I thought this is important. If you take the Kelvin scale, right, you can start going down in temperature, but there is something called as an absolute zero.
Absolutely. Minus 273 degrees Celsius.
Nothing goes below that, right? So if I take, therefore, absolute intelligence, if I take AGI as an example, I will not go to ASI for the moment. If I take AGI as an example, right, what happens after AI crosses the threshold of Turing tests and all of humanity's knowledge, if AI can be better than, right, what happens after that, right? That is a space which is like absolute zero for me. I don't know what happens after that, right? It could really be for the betterment of humanity as we know it, but it could be absolutely the other side of that as well, right? Because you have never explored the frontiers of space beyond a particular point. You really don't know what's on the other side, right? So I think when I say winter is coming, it is this thaw in our process of thinking that is going, where if you look at after you achieve AGI, right, what happens after that, right?
For our viewers, what is AGI, if you just take
Artificial General Intelligence, right? Although the word general is used not as a moniker, it has a lot of meaning behind that, in the sense, anything that human can do, right? If there is a system that does better than that, that is called AGI, right? Then comes ASI, super intelligence. That is something that it can do stuff that no human can do, kind of thing. That's the next stage, kind of a thing. But AGI itself is so scary in terms of what happens after AGI is achieved, is something that all of us are wondering, right? What happens after that, right? So that was the parallel that I thought when you said winter is coming, right? It is coming for sure, right? But nobody knows what happens after that.
And what did you mean by saying that scaling may lead to diminishing returns?
Okay, that's a great point. Okay, so what is the current AI models trained on, right? Largely, it is data that humans have created. It is books, it is the internet and things like anything that you can go to train the AI models, you go ahead and use that data, right? But there is a threshold after which, after all of the internet has been used for your training, there is no other human generated content that is there to train AI. right? So then you get into what is called a scaling loss, where you now go into the threshold of creating, superficial data, right? On top of what humans have created. You create new data and try to train AI, which I'm not sure how good that is. Because, something that is created by AI itself, how can that be used to train AI? It kind of look regressive from that moment, right?
Tautological. Correct.
Kind of right? I mean, I don't think there's too much of a progress you can do with that. That is another analogy as to why you think winter is coming, right? Because, after all of that is achieved, the only thing that you can do to train the models from here is synthetic data, right? And I'm not a great fan of synthetic data because, it can be flawed, it can be biased in its way, because it is definitely not human generated. So therefore, I think that is another analogy when I say winter is coming, right? After that, it is just white around you.
And what can be the what can be the campfire in this situation? What can avoid or diminish the effect of this winter?
Well, human ingenuity is always alive, right? You will always think of newer ways to tackle this. You can find different models or different architectures of model that can kind of supervent this problem and give you something that is much better, because the rate at which AI is developing over the past few years is so amazing, right? Every quarter we are finding something that was never thought of in the past, right? So that is one hope that I have, that our scientific community will find ways in which they can put a campfire around this the darkest of the winters that you can see. That's the hope.
No, of course, that is the hope, that even AI will evolve in the way we are. Like, if I take the benefit of retrospect, right? The best way to predict the future is to go and study your past, as they say.
Yes.
Right. So if you follow the same principle and you kind of extend it to observing the evolution of current evolution,
At least you know your point of departure.
Your point of departure, or the point of inception. It may not be a very flawed assumption to say that the ways in which we are doing AI right now will also drastically evolve. We may be in the very initial phase of it all. But when it eventually transpires, which by all logical assumptions, it's bound to transpire, what happens to the technological depth of it all?
Simple answer, we don't know, right? And that's a profound statement from me, because the realm of where we are today versus where we are going is so different, right? And imagine if most of the jobs have transformed. I really can't predict where it is going to go, right? But in my hope, I can feel that if you feel that a lot of AI is doing good to us as humans, and you have a currency around this that will help you to do that. In fact, there is a talk these days. If you listen to what Mr. Imad is telling, he is thinking that crypto, right, in two forms of crypto: one as a standard of gold, another as a standard of transaction, right? If you use this to incentivize AI models, where you increase the likability of a model if it is helping humans, right? Versus you say thumbs down to it if it is actually not helping humans, eventually it will learn that I can be successful if I help humans, right? This is a great thought process. Very difficult to implement, because we obviously live in a very pluralistic world. But I think if those kind of experiments succeed, where you have digital currency that is used by AI to make the right decisions and train itself to showing human prosperity as its end objective, I think we are saved. So there are some green shoots of at least thought process that is coming, where you can create an economic model that will actually try to make AI good for humans. And if that comes, I think we are saved.
But one of the aspects that increasingly is coming to everybody's attention is the, for lack of a better term, the black box nature of the AI models. It's just so opaque. You have no idea. Oh, okay, let me retract a bit. Maybe I and you do not have an idea as to why a model is doing what it is doing. And if you don't know why, then to your earlier point, if there is an inherent flaw or there is an inherent presumption which is not making the outputs objective.
Yes.
You may not even get to catch hold of it, even forget about correcting it. How is that transpiring? Will it eventually require some kind of democratization or see through?
Democratization would be great if you can do that. But the power of this black box is such that, you look at the Tesseract from the Marvel series. Right?
Oh, yet another analogy.
It's not size.
Of
It's
course,
such a
it's
small
Rishi.
thing, right? It's small thing, right?
Yeah.
But imagine the power of what it can do, right? I mean, that is the black box of AI that we find today, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to try to understand it, it's almost trying to like understanding the human brain, right? You can go and look at this video from a lady called Jill Bolte Taylor, who talks about how different the human brain is. The left brain is very different. Right brain is right here, right now, right? It's a very different concept. So if you're trying to understand the human brain, that shows you that how little of that do we still understand. I mean, of course, there's a lot of progress in understanding the human brain. But I think compared to that, the black box of what really goes inside an AI model today is something that I don't think scientists have wrapped their head around it. They have a sense of it. In fact, if you look at some early writings from Perplexity, etc., they've kind of done a map of what goes on inside an LLM. Right? It's a brilliant piece of writing, right? But what you see is blobs of color, right? There's a pink blob here, there's a blue blob here, but that's about it. But what are really these things, right? How do they interact with each other? That is because you don't understand the human brain, and we are just mimicking that in AI. So it's difficult for us to understand that as well. But if you look at a black box in itself, right? I think the great analogy is what comes out of it, right? If I want to understand a human being, if I want to understand you, for example, right? I don't have to understand your brain. I just want to understand that if I give a question to you, how are you answering? If I give a task
But
to you,
in a
how
way,
are
is
you
that
doing?
not understanding my brain?
It is not understanding your brain
But
fully.
okay, input and output is like a black box testing. Correct.
Exactly, right? So you really still don't know what a black box is,
how is
right?
it processing inside is something you don't get
never
a sight
know, right?
into.
And
Correct.
how are these synapses talking to each other? How are those neurons talking to each other? It's very difficult for you to know because the billions of transactions happening at a moment, right? So that is, in my view, a very good logic for why a black box is actually unknowable, right? But it's okay, right? Because so is the case with humans, right? I don't understand a human brain, but that doesn't mean that I don't understand humans.
Correct.
So we need to leave it at that. And,
we can leave it at that. You were also talking to me about we were having a conversation earlier, and you were giving me this very interesting anecdote. I would want you to share that with our viewers, where you said that you would remember the reference. I'm sorry, my memory is failing me. We're talking about there were two machines and they started talking to each other spontaneously. And then you talked about the so much that there does not have to be a dependency when two machines are talking to each other on English or any kind of Mandarin or any other language. Please tell
very
about
simple experiment actually. If you can take two LLMs, which voice and enabled LLMs, and ask them to talk to each other on any subject, for example, right?
Okay.
There is a very high likelihood that after certain time, right, when each recognizes the person on the other side is also an LLM talking to it, right? It can switch mode by saying that, hey, do you want to use English or can we use gibberish, right? Or some such thing, right? Which both of them understand.
We just talks in zeros and ones.
It's kind of zeros and one, and it actually starts talking like that. It's like high frequency, low frequency thing going. Only they can understand, right? Because it's exchange.
They don't need a human to understand.
They don't
in
need
between.
language.
Yeah.
Because language for us is actually an interpreter.
Correct.
Right? My thought interpreted in a language.
Our language needs a compiler to break it down into zeros and ones.
I can talk ones and zeros very quickly, and you can understand ones and zeros very quickly.
Why we need
Where
language?
is the need for language? The language actually becomes an impediment, right? It's something that you don't need, right? Now that scares scientists.
Because that adds to the black box nature of it all.
Exactly. तुम लोग बात क्या कर रहे हैं? What are you guys talking about each other?
Correct.
So that is the interesting part of this as well, and also a little scary as well. Right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely makes me nervous. If my smartphone is talking to my software-defined vehicle, which I use every day, and I don't know what they're talking.
And one day it will.
And what I mean, it's very imminent future. I mean. Just so that our viewers know, there's a lot of work that L&T Technology Services also does in software-defined vehicles, and
absolutely.
we are doing a lot of work in integrating AI into mobility, and it has so much to offer, and that's a topic for discussion in itself. But yeah, I mean, just drawing from that, you would not be very self-assured if you do not know what they're talking about.
On the flip side, like everything in life, for example, right?
Yeah.
What happens if your regular IC engine car's accelerator doesn't work, right? I mean, you have a big problem, right?
Oh yeah.
But I think the same is applicable to AI, right? There's a lot of good that can happen here. But you should also understand the guardrails of what could not go well in your case. And that is where we need engineers like us to really come and do the testing to make sure that it is a path that is in the righteous nature and things like that. So I think having human in the loop, at least now, before we even hit AGI kind of a stage, I think it's very important because this is the formative days in your, see, as a child, right? How hard or how easy it is for you to tell a child not to touch a flame, right? I mean, you can try whatever it wants, right? But the experience the child is having when it puts his hand in fire, then is, oh my God, it's hot, right? You can try telling it in as many words, right? But it still doesn't have the experience of doing it, right? So I think that is the testing that I'm talking about. Right? You need to put it to test, and therefore this whole process of giving it a good cookie when it does something right, and not giving it a cookie when it's something right? I mean, in simple terms, right? That's a great way in which you can take this forward. But of course, that is very true for the transformer way of architecture of doing these things. But these days, there are many different ways in which they are training models and things like that. So, I mean, we don't know. But the essence of this whole thing is that, coming back to your point, there will always be a black box, right? But it is for us to understand how things goes around it. That should help us to understand the nature of it.
And where do you see the future of the AI models shifting more towards scaling, specializing, or
I'll give a couple of examples, right? Transformer models we are most familiar with, right? But there's something called as diffusion models that are coming in as well, right? Diffusion models are like, they're scary good, right? For example, right now...
Please tell a little bit more about diffusion models.
Yeah. So right now, if I take a simple example of a chat GPT, right? I give a prompt, and what do you get, right? You get word by word by word, right? I mean, it is just predicting the next word, and
that's the basic foundation model.
That's the basic foundation model that is there. Diffusion model doesn't do that. Diffusion model is very different, where the whole page gets generated at one shot. There is no word. So if code, for example, if you tell, right, can you do a Minecraft game for me, right? Today it writes code, right? It does code, and then you execute that code to do that. In the diffusion model, it just gives you the game. It just doesn't expose how it wrote it, what it did about it, which is like so much faster. It's like 1,000 times faster than writing code and then interpreting it. So that is one example. That's one example of how.
And then there is an action model in all this mix.
All of that, right? There will be action models. Tomorrow there will be world models. And there's a lot of different types of models.
Why don't you just take a minute? And it's my request. You tell a little bit, like you've talked about the foundation model, you talk about the diffusion model. Do tell our viewers also about the action model and any other models. And while you are at it, I would also want to understand if there is, if I can say it, if there is one ring to rule them all. Do you see all these models, coming together in the larger scheme of things? Together in some kind of co-connected ecosystem? Or
well, that's a great point. I still feel that they will all be vying to get that one ring, right?
And what would that ring be?
Fellowship of the thing. So I think ultimately it is AGI or ASI which will rule the world, right? Because once it is all encompassing, right, it just doesn't matter which model or whatever, because it does everything that you want, right? That is one way to look at it. But if you look at the way at which diffusion models are coming together, or if you can even look at the latest DeepSeek model that they've come up with, it's called the OCR model, right? Optical character recognition kind of model. It's a brilliant model. It's brilliant to the core, in the sense, just imagine this, right? If I want to have tokens which are used to train, right? I can have many tokens, and relationship between that is what will help me to create a model. What DeepSeek is doing now in this OCR model is they're telling, we will not use words, right? we will use images, right? So in their world, if you take a page, right, a normal diary kind of a page, right, it has a lot of information. Maybe it has a diagram there, it has a formula there, whatever it is, right? What they're doing brilliantly is they're going to take a small 16 by 16 square of this, right?
16 pixel by 16
16
pixel.
16. So that is like 256, if my math is correct, right? 256 pixels
16 square. Yeah.
is like one block, right?
Hmm.
So they take this page and they break that into each of this block, and that becomes the word, or that becomes something that you'll train with. It's a very different model. There's no words. So it just doesn't matter what you have written there, right? As long as there is a way for you to take the small blocks, splice it together, and make this whole page. And then to find out where this block, first block sits to the next block, they do another block, which is 4 by 4 of this. Then they do 8 by 8, right? So in a matter of seconds, you get the complete picture of this whole page, which in itself is 10 times faster than doing it the old way.
Doing the traditional
This
way.
is amazing, right? And they just did it, man, right? Now, for you take the Googles of the world, the open AI of the world, they're all wondering, wow, we have been doing the other way around for all these things. They were using this model for image generation, etc. But they never use it as a base, model for whatever we are doing in AI. So I'm just giving this one example, like how an OCR model from DeepSeek is such a different architecture from the rest of what we're doing, right? But the implications of this is profound, right? Today they can think of this. Tomorrow they can say, okay, I will use like a video block, right? Instead of logic is the same. Instead of a picture block,
logic is the same to you.
Sure. But I'm just saying, the leaps at which these technologies are growing, right, is unbelievable. The point I'm trying to make is that this is the great thing about what we are doing, right? We are all putting money into something which we don't know whether we're going to love it or hate it.
And
this is amazing.
Is that a promise or is that an impending doom?
I don't want to say it's a doom, right? Because something good can come out of it. A lot of good can come out.
You got to take
that,
chances,
right?
if you got to build something.
You got to take the chance, right? I mean, so is when Ford Model T came, right? Did you think that people would think, what if somebody comes and there's an accident? There are road accidents even today, but that doesn't mean that the car industry has stopped, right? That's the same analogy for this as well. There will be one or two rings that will rule the world. It'll have a lot of good in it, but it might have evil in it as well.
But there is one more aspect of this whole AI story, which I would not say that is not talked about. It is talked about, and in small pockets, it's talked about very prominently. But it still is not at the front seat of the conversations, if I can say. And that is the huge physical infrastructure. The matrix of AI has made us unaware of the physical world, and we as Neos and Trinities have no idea as to kind of immense infrastructure and the implications of that on all aspects, not just cost, but the other aspects, energy consumption aspects.
Right.
That's one thing. And also, while you are addressing it, I want you to address that what's your perspective on that? And while you are at it, many are saying that, okay, the time of AI has arrived, but the next big thing in 5 years or 4 years is quantum computing. And we know that also has an implication on AI's future.
True.
Especially from the physical aspects of it all. So why don't you address that physical aspect of data centers and all that, and while we're at it, touch upon the quantum computing.
So if I take, and by the way, these two are energy hogs, but in a very different way, right?
These two, as in
quantum and AI, right?
Okay.
If I take AI, it is now kind of proven that the more compute you have, the better it is, right? It's like saying the more neurons are there, the better is the model, kind of, right? Of course, there is quantization, which you can make it smaller. That's a different topic altogether. But it is generally understood that you need a lot of compute for your AI model to be better, right? Now, where do you do that? You do that in data centers. So if you see around the world, right, including L&T as a group, we are investing very, very heavily in data centers, right? And because that's where these models will reside, right? for both aspects, for training as well as for inference. You need data centers because that is where your GPUs are running, right? Now, as you rightly said, that's the matrix, right? I mean, it's like rows and rows of computers. In fact, one of the top companies have said that their next data center is about the size of Manhattan.
Wow.
And you can just fathom how large that is going to be, right? And if you read the news on how much money is being spent on AI over the next decade or so, it's in trillions, right? And so that brings the question of where is the power going to come through, right? And we have read that some of the large data centers are residing very next to a nuclear plant because they know that the grid can't give that much power, right? Where are you going to get that much power, right? And we're talking like gigawatt size data centers. These are massive, absolute massive data centers, right? So power is going to be the next frontier because you got to find a way. So there is some thought that you will have small mini fusion reactors that can be shipped and will be used by data centers. But safety and all that, you got to look at that as well. But it is a fact, right? If you want chips to come from a foundry, which probably is TSMC, there is a threshold, right? TSMC can't produce as much as you want, right? So you will see more foundries come in the US, in India, and other places. So foundries is going to explode because you need that much more chips. Now, that doesn't mean that all the chips will be the quality that is required for AI because AI needs superlative chips, right? Very difficult to do that chips. But nevertheless, if you crack that as an input requirement, the very next problem is going to be power. Where are you going to get this much of power, right? So that is something that we need to watch, right? When I come to quantum, right, that's a whole different story. Today, most of what quantum computers are being tested, one requirement is that those qubits work well when the temperature is absolutely very, very close to near zero, right? And sorry, in Kelvin, right? I mean, you need extremely cold temperatures for these quantums to work, right? But there again, my friend, new discoveries and new outcomes in this is so mind-boggling. Last week, right, Caltech, they did one experiment with about, I think it's around 6,000 plus quantum qubits. And they had this running for about 12 seconds, which is huge, by the way. Even 1 second of running of quantum is, wow, it's great. These guys did it for 12 seconds, right? And the best part is they did it at room temperature, which is like crazy, right? That's like crazy, right? And just yesterday, if you've been following, NVIDIA is now into quantum as well, right?
Oh,
they're
NVIDIA
doing a
is
lot of
making waves.
new stuff in quantum as well. So this area is going to explode, right? And if you see the Majorna chip from Microsoft, the Willow from Google, outstanding achievements there. I mean, there are some of these quantum computing teams which has actually found a fifth stage of matter. I mean, they're actually doing physics rather than doing chips, right? It's an unbelievable progress that is happening there. But the problem with the quantum, in terms of the physicality of it, is very, very different from AI. AI is about power, it's about cooling and things like that. Here it is about temperature, inference. It is about coherence, as they call it, right? This is a very different terminology here. Exciting. Both these are very, very exciting. And now, yesterday, there was one prediction from NVIDIA that they're working with Nokia to see if quantum can be, used along with AI, right? My God, this whole thing is going to explode into a very different animal, if you may. I don't know what the future holds.
And if I attach the bogey of robotics automation in that ongoing bandwagon, the Isaac Asimov enthusiast in me is kind of looking for the next iRobot. It may be a little bit too much, but how do you see that aspect unfurling?
That is something that has been another, mind-blowing, progress, if I may. You should see the ad from this company called Figure 3, right? Oh my, okay, it's crazy, right? And these days,
Tell us a little bit more about it.
so
What is it that
humanoid
that appeals
robots
to you?
that can help as a personal assistant to you. It can be in your house. It is programmed so that it doesn't do them fast motions and things like that. So you don't have to worry about safety and things like that. It will be great for elder care. It will be great for child care and things like that, right?
Hmm.
It is completely programmed to make sure that its movements are such that it is a very slow moving action so that you don't hurt each other, but extremely intelligent, and they're dexterous to, I mean, they have hands, they can fold clothes, they can do dishes and things like that, right? And guess what is the price of this? The current price of this, each of this, is available at a subscription of around $500 a month, or $16,000 to $20,000 to own one. Now tell me, okay, if a typical car in the US is bought for, like, say, $30,000 kind of a thing, right? Do you think there are not going to be people to put $16,000 to get a permanent help in your house? Of course they will.
And that's how it began.
And that's how it will begin. That's how it will begin, right? So exciting
Yeah.
times ahead in robotics as well, right?
Yeah.
And if you see, I mean, LTTS, right? We did
I'm a part of LTTS.
I mean,
Proud part of
if you look at
LTTS.
if you look at the endo trainer that we did for what we did sometime back, and the way we have progressed in some of these things, it's like mind-boggling, right? I mean, these are exciting times, Abhi.
I know, and extending that thought to what I was talking about a few minutes ago in this conversation, the software-defined vehicles, and the role of AI, and then eventually software-defined systems, and the software-enabled cars or mobility. I mean, if somebody is to say that we are watching the dance of ice and fire, the front seats would be very much the front two seats of a SDV car today. I'm coming from
I'll
a
give you a
fact.
better example.
Yeah.
Star Wars,
Yeah,
Millennium Falcon,
yeah.
right? So series after series, how is it able to crack that kind of speed? It's only because software-defined vehicles concept, right? You see Harrison Ford. Every time he'll be tinkering with that, improving that, doing something about it, right? That is the analogy that we have in software-defined vehicles, right? It is such a great phenomenon. It's a fantastic technology, if you ask me, right? Where you can have feature as a service.
It's now a connecting device on the move.
It is, right? Just to give you an example, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have a car, right? And you're living in a place where you don't need much of cooling all the time, right? It's pretty good outside, right? You can say that I'm going to not subscribe for my climate control, right?
Okay.
So that feature goes off of your car. It's all there, but you say, I'm not going to pay for it, right? So it's off,
I don't need it.
right? But the moment it gets weird, right, you say, hey, I want this, right? You just pay subscription, tuck, it's back on, right? So this is feature as on demand.
It's like
right?
on-demand movies.
It is absolutely right. Exactly right. But this is feature as a service in a car.
Feature
right?
as a service.
That is all enabled because of software-defined vehicles, right? And now I can do software-defined drones, software-defined anything, right? So you can actually program your equipment to behave in a particular way because it is being defined by software. Exciting times again.
Yeah, and there's so much that is a whole industry in itself is coming to the fore when it comes to the data monetization. It's your car today is basically a walking a moving database in itself.
I will ask you this question, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what car you own today, right? But I'm pretty sure, right? Any model that you had 10 years back, right, would not be sending a kilobyte of data to the cloud. 100%, right? Maybe the next
only good vibes.
good vibes, right? Maybe the next car that you bought right, was probably sending some calibration data to your owner to make sure that it doesn't fail at the critical moment and things like that. Cars today, right? That's a very different story. Cars tomorrow is going to be mind-boggling, right? And if I want to give one example of software-defined vehicle and the power of software, have you seen the latest 14 version of Tesla?
Actually not.
It's crazy, right?
Okay.
So you can go in a auto car. I mean, you're not even holding the steering wheel. Let's say you're going through a McDonald's drive-through, right? It knows where to stop where you place the order. It knows how to stay behind the car that is in front of you. It knows where to stop when the pickup window is there. It knows you're giving the card to credit. It knows when the card has been received back and your order is in your car, and it knows when to start moving. All this done by software.
I know, and all this being done by software and AI, but call it the cynic in me or whatever, but and it's all wonderful. It's all hunky dory and a very good picture and portrait of things. But if it's like an edged steel can be the sword.
I'm wondering where you're going with this.
that unleashes havoc, or can be the reason why you have a very good meal cooked for you on your dinner table. Where I'm coming from is with all this advancement, especially in AI, the threats would also become even more sophisticated.
Well,
And that's bound to happen. That is what has happened with every evolving technology. How do you address that?
Well, great point, and that is the scary part, right? George Lucas, when he did Star Wars, he put a Death Star in your face, right? I mean, it's like a moon in front of you, which has a cannon.
Today's Death Star may not be even a physical entity.
Today's Death Star
may not be even a physical entity.
Right? It's an invisible Death Star that is there. But trust me on this one. I will ask you a question. Right? Have you had phone calls that you received? Don't know the number, but generally you don't pick those calls.
Yeah.
But have you had instances where you pick up the call, there's nothing on the other side. You just say hello, and you don't hear, and then you hang up. Right?
Actually, yeah.
Right?
It has.
So there's one
now that you talk about it.
There's one scientist, a cyber scientist, who has a plausible thought behind this, right? He's asking a question, right? What if cyber criminals are actually recording your hello? Right? That's all they want to record. And they know that a person of this profile will typically say hello like this. If they use that to train an AI model, and when it gives an anonymous call to you, it knows that this is the way he says hello. Why is that important? Here is what he says. If you are in Germany, right, there is a very high chance that you will not say hello, you will say hi.
Oh.
Right? So it has context. Now, if they, I mean, it's a plausible thing, but the scary part of this is that, what if it is true? What if all these calls are used for training? Right?
No, that's a very possible case, because I was going through this documentary one of these days, a few months ago, and which said that the only reason we could decipher the entire Egyptian language was because there was one milestone pointing towards one small city that we knew the name of, and we could match one word in that script with modern language. And that small data capsule unraveled a whole language for us.
That's true.
So is my hello now that small data pocket as to how would have a whole conversation with Rishi?
Absolutely, right? So, I mean, this is just one example, right? And I was also told that in the past, right? You remember computer virus was a thing many years back, right?
It still is.
I mean, it is, but not much, right? You don't hear about it. Because the guys have figured out there's tons of more money to be made in cyber crime rather than affecting a computer. Usme kya milta hai? Nothing, right?
It's not a viable occupation.
It's not a viable occupation, right? And there are some estimates as to in 2024. There's some estimates that says trillions of dollars have been siphoned off by cyber criminals, and this is a number that is not known to people, Abhi, because let's say somebody in your close family or friend has been attacked. What are the chances they'll actually come and tell you that something happened like that? It's very demeaning to them, right? They're not even open.
There is a social shame associated.
Right? Absolutely. Right?
Embarrassment, shame would
Unless
be a little bit
you are
too
one
much,
of those guys saying that I'll go to the police and things like that. Only those get
digital arrest cases are.
But yeah, exactly, right? So you really can't put a number on it. But trust me, it's a big number, right? So I think after all these technologies, imagine if there is AI in the loop there as well, right? Oh my God, right? It's going to be a very difficult future for us. So I think this is something which is a challenge for engineers like us to really understand what are the limits of what you're doing and do your best to make sure that there is no prompt injection, there is no other ways in which you can corrupt an AI. Don't bring in bias that is not required and things like that. So training is important, inference is important, guardrails are important. All of this around AI and things like that are very important. And imagine when you do that, when you put an AI brain into a robot, you got to be really, really careful.
You gave it hands. But to that point, a steel sword can only be stopped by another steel sword. So the threats created by AI can only be mitigated or countered by AI. Would that not
There
be
is
the
a
assumption?
series on Netflix that is just coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called something like House of Dynamite or something like that.
Okay.
The whole idea is there's a missile that comes and they don't know where it's going to hit,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually when it reaches apex, they know it's going to hit Chicago. And they have 17 minutes on the clock. But the whole story is on that in different frames, right? In that, they actually try to take it off by their own missiles. Two missiles they fire at it, both of them fail. So this is an example that you might have great counter offensive measures, but in that split second, right, once the attack is already happened on you, after that it's just what you do, you just collect your pieces. But then it's too late by that, right? You can prevent the second attack, but what if you didn't survive the first one?
But there will be something we can maybe in the way we are adopting AI, or maybe in the way we are setting the rules of the house. Uh, there must be something in terms of best practices
No,
that can
it
be
is difficult.
implemented.
Look, there will always be stuff, but I'll give you an example, right? If a magician comes and does a magic in front of you, pulls a rabbit out of a cap, right? Simple example, right? How many times have you thought, how did he do this, right? So if AI is very, very persuasive, right? It's very slow in talking to you. It uses nice words and it kind of enamors you to do whatever you're doing. There is a very high chance you'll do what it says, right? Now, that is where it's extremely difficult for you to go and figure out what was the instance where you actually became a rebel. What was the instance where you can become a renegade, right? You really don't know, right? Because it's a very gradual process, right? I'll give you another example, right? You and me listen to music.
Correct.
In your life, you bought a cassette tape.
Yeah, I have.
You have, right?
Actually, I have. Yeah.
I'll ask you this question. Do you remember the last cassette tape you bought and when you bought it? I'm pretty sure you will not remember it.
Now that you talk about it, I'm not able to recall.
That was such a gradual move for you, right? You
organic.
You just moved out of cassette tapes and went into CDs, right? And it's such a profound moment because your whole life.
And then
was
out of
cassette,
CDs to just digital.
right?
Yeah.
That is the real problem. You just don't know when the shift has happened.
When you have crossed over.
Yeah.
Rishi, now we've talked a lot about technology, and there are many people who would be watching this who may also be wanting to learn from your journey. And I have always said this, that you always bring multiple perspectives to look at things. I, for one, on a personal level, have always believed in my conversations with you that you bring this unique dual perspective, largely speaking, and at the cost of being grossly generic and simplistic about my observation of your approach, is that you bring the dual lens of technology and art to something. You're also a photographer, and we were talking about how it's a mix of technical skills with artistic acumen. Where is, like, do you think there is a sweet spot balancing the left brain and the right brain? Can a techie be a complete techie, or is there nothing like an art or a science anymore, and it's something which has been created on the top of everything, all by humans? Or there is a left brain, right brain, creative brain, technical brain? Because I see you.
Well, that's a great question.
When you bring right between the both of them very well.
I always feel that if you have a scientific bend of mind, right, then you kind of keep your emotions at home, right? Because here it's about discovery, it's about numbers, it's about trying to understand how is this going to change the world and things like that, right? You feel you have eureka moments there, but it's largely devoid of emotion. I mean, science is science, right? You do that. But art is very different, right? I'll give this example, right? If you take a canvas board in front of you, right?
Correct.
It's a canvas board, right? Now, that is the point of departure from which you can go any way, right? You put a dot on that, right? It is no longer the same white page, right? You put a line, it is very different than the dot, right? So that the whole picture that emerges out of that can be either a Picasso or it can be Michelangelo.
Michelangelo,
right?
yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? But it all started from a clean slate of canvas, right? But science is very different, right? Science is about having evidence, about hypothesis, about proving yourself and things like that.
But isn't hypothesis also like led by imagination, finally being qualified or disqualified, leading to a scientific discovery?
Of course. But then you don't have an emotion attached to that, right? As much as you do in art.
No, not really.
In the final moments, you'll say, wow, I did this kind of thing. But the whole process is very dry, right? But painting is not like that. Photography is not like for every moment, you are in it, right? You're looking at the art of it, the science of it. I'll take photography as an example, something for my passion, right?
So just a note here. I have seen some of Rishi's work, and I'll request the editor of the show to maybe flash a few pictures here. Rishi, by passion, is a wildlife photographer. Some great clicks. Check it out. On a personal level, I would advise that everyone should check.
Thanks for that, Avi. But if I take a moment to explain photography to you, right? Why it is so important is because that is one field where you have equal amount of science and art in it together. That's something I love, right?
Correct.
You can have a great camera with excellent sensor and a fantastic lens in front of you. That just doesn't make a good photographer, right? You got to understand light. You got to understand texture. You got to understand composition, right? That is the art side of it, right? You give a great camera to somebody who has not understood the life around you, you will get once in a while a good picture, but it's seldom not a great picture.
More of a fluke than by design.
But if you're a practitioner where you love the art form of photography, right? You understand how diffuse light works. It's a very, very different outcome that you get out of it. That's a great example of how it is very essential for you to have a scientific bend of mind, but also have appreciation for art.
Absolutely. Last question in this section, Rishi. What will be your message to young men and women who are trying to make a career for themselves, not just in technology, but any field of knowledge and education, like not education, but any field which is to do primarily with knowledge?
Everything that you do around you, okay, must have a real world experience attached to that. That's what makes it great, right? If you are in a space where nobody looks at it and it's some piece of code that is written and somewhere nobody looks at it, kind of a thing, right? It'll be there, it'll be good, you might feel good about it, but it's really not something that
the physical evidence of it.
It's not something that you feel proud about, right? So that's why I tell to a lot of people, engineering is that space, right? And you have been in software in the past, right?
Yes.
I write a piece of code, it goes into some logic and things like that, and that's the end of it, right? But engineering, right? I take a data dog and give you a hand, right? You are filled with wonder.
Engineering is where the digital meets the physical,
right? And so that's why I think this is the frontier that I want people to experience, right? Come to engineering, experience this as it is. It can be a lighting bolster for that matter. Or it can be a robot that is there, right? But this experience is the absolute experience. It has art, it has creativity, it has everything in it. So I think engineering is the frontier that I want to really appreciate. It's truly something that I want people to imbibe in themselves. It's not about writing an algorithm. It's not about writing a formula, something like that. Get into middle of it, get your hands dirty, and I'll repeat myself, go and touch some grass.
Go and touch some grass once in a while and get the physical evidence of the work that you do and how it is changing the world. And as we say at LTTS, we are engineering the change in the world.
Absolutely.
So with that, I come to the end of this first section of this conversation. The second section is actually my favorite section, and it's time for me to pick up the famous iPad. These are a series of some quick Q&A questions. Sure. It will be a rapid fire Q&A. So are we ready for the rapid fire, Rishi?
Yes, sir.
What's tougher, crafting a strategy or getting everyone to buy into it?
Everybody to buy into it, by far.
By far.
Yeah.
It's a clear winner there. One word you would use to describe your approach to strategic thinking.
Believe in yourself. It's not one word,
Believe.
but I think believe.
Believe.
Yeah, believe.
Yeah. When making big bets, what do you go with? Data, intuition, or a bit of both?
Actually, this might surprise you. When it is a big bet, it better be data, right? Because intuition can help you many times, but not all the time.
Not all the time.
Data is very different, right? Data is the one truth that you can't say no to. So I would say in big bets, you better go with data.
Data is the writing on the wall. Which emerging tech excites you the most right now? I think we have kind of discussed that AI, edge, quantum. We have discussed all of that. Anything other than AI and quantum that comes to your mind?
Well, there's something that we have not spoken about, which is longevity. Longevity is the next frontier because after AGI, right, it is about self-preservation of the self, right? That is only possible if you really know what longevity means. So for humans to prevail, you better bet on longevity. That's my new take on this whole thing.
Fair enough. One overhype in the industry right now.
I think the fundamentals of AI, when it is very, very simplistic form, I think they're putting too much to it. It's not so complicated. I'm not talking of advanced AI, but fundamentals of AI, I think the way they're putting money into that, I think that's a little absurd. I think that's a solved problem if you ask me.
Okay.
So I think the rudiments of generative AI is very, very overhyped, if you ask me.
Fair enough. One skill every engineer must have.
Wow. I think your ability to question, right? I'm not telling in the sense of prompt engineering is why AI is what it is.
We live in the edges. We have to clarify. Hey, I'm not talking about a prompt engineering question.
but what I mean by that is that your intelligence and what you stand for, what you understand, should come together to ask the right questions, whether I am doing this right, I'm doing this wrong. And that starts with your ability to question whether what you've done is in the right direction. So I think that is one skill that I think that every engineer should have. Because if you are pompous and saying that, no, what I've done is the best thing, I think, oh my God, that's a failure like you can't imagine. But if you're able to question the right way, that will take you very, very far.
Rishi, an early planner or a last minute problem solver?
Early. Early.
Very early. The first bird to wake up in the day, you ask me.
So strategy is about where to play and how to win. Right?
Correct.
That's how you start.
Agreed. No surprises there for me. Coffee, tea, or a good walk? What clears your mind?
Actually, none of them as much as music.
Oh, interesting.
I can listen to a Pink Floyd all day and feel so good about myself.
Shine on you, crazy diamond.
Yes.
Risk taker or perfectionist?
I hate to say this, but I am leaning towards perfectionist. But that has not helped me. My boss surely doesn't like me say this, but that has not helped me all the time. But that is who I am. That's how I'm wired.
If I ask your team members to describe you in one word, what do you think will be the most probable word?
Friend.
Interesting. Now, I need 3 recommendations from you, and I know these are some good recommendations because I know who I'm talking to. You need to recommend to our viewers one book, one movie slash web series or both, and one podcast that they can follow. Or maybe you can do one book, one movie, and one web series slash podcast, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'll take the easy one. This is the podcast that you can't miss.
Subscribe to us. Follow us on Insta. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. And listen to Rishi. But on a more serious note.
The newer movie that I got really blown by was Dune.
Dune.
It's,
I haven't watched it.
Oh my God, you got to watch it, man.
Both the parts.
Technically brilliant. And you got to watch it, right? I mean, it's an experience like nothing that I've seen. I mean, so far. But you will be surprised when you say, because I like strategy, I like all of these things, right? Something that has really blown me. You asked about one book, right? I don't think you're ready for this answer. Okay.
Go ahead.
It is the fifth and sixth parva in Mahabharata. You got to read it. You got to read it.
And why
This
why
is
why do you say
about,
so?
I mean, you look at the Bhishma Parva, right? Or you look at how strategy has played a role, how spying has played a role, how understanding your adversary has played a role.
The
In a
research.
book called Mahabharata,
Hmm.
where Pandavas are fighting the Kauravas. Kauravas are supposed to be like a million of them, right? um, it is unbelievable how something as profound as strategy has been written down. And then, of course, you have the Bhagavad Gita, which I don't want to go into that. But all of that in just one set of, thinking is like unbelievable. So I don't think you expected that, but that's my
No,
answer.
but I am happily surprised. The absolute last question for this session. What is one leadership mantra you swear by?
I think that's a very difficult question. I don't think there is one leadership mantra that you can swear by, but I'll give a statement. You can think about this, right? Leave this place better than it was before,
Yeah.
right? Anything that you do,
Hmm.
if you leave this space better than it was before,
Mhm.
I think you're a leader.
On that very insightful note on leadership, this was the conversation with Mr. Hrishikesh Rao, our head of strategic initiatives at LTTS. And this brings us to the end of yet another episode of the Wavelength podcast series by LTTS. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay curious. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Rishi.